Christians lie to us, read the Bible, the history is tied to us. Nobody ride for us, Messiah died for us. Ask the saints, all of them cry for us. And last, the truth has finally come out. We the people of the Bible, this is no doubt. Can these bones live? I am living proof and baffled why my people hate the truth. False religions, false idols, false titles. This is truth music, not elemental recitals. Feel this, y'all. Get close to the speaker. The world strengthens me when I'm feeling weaker. Let it sink down deep, deep into your mentals. Truth gets so hot it overheat. Instrumentals, we from the big cities plus the big lights. What a feeling, y'all. We the Israelites.
Long time, but we waking up so many lies we told. We breaking up so many, locked up so many, shot down. You can keep Judah from his crown. Try to hold us, try to break us, take our names away, but couldn't shake us. Now I pray to the Most High with all your might. What a feeling, y'all. We the Israelites.
Close your eyes. Picture 400 years of slavery. The same people had a lifetime full of bravery. Hung in trees just like the Savior. Had to pick up the pen and put the truth down on paper. And if you don't believe me, check out the script. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. That's the tip on who was brung to the U.S. on slave ships. Learn real history, not just BS. Heretics, governments, politicians making satanic decisions. Walkers and me turning kids into magicians. But now, truth is coming out in these last days. Put your strong drink down and throw away your haze. Plagues, don't worry, the Most High will bring them. You want to know whose address is on the kingdom? We from the big cities, plus the big lies. What a feeling, y'all. We the Israelites.
Long time, but we waking up so many lies we told. We breaking up so many, locked up so many, shot down. You can keep Judah from his crown. Try to hold us, try to break us, take our names away, but couldn't shake us. Now I pray to the Most High with all your might. What a feeling, y'all. We the Israelites.
Now I sit back thinking deep like the pit. Man, this Israelite thing is really it. Mind blowing, who knowing? Try to stop me from flowing. Red or green light, I just keep on going. I quiet, I'm like a church mouse that's tiptoeing. My brothers live in falsehoods, they not knowing. Think we niggas, think we black Americans, Democrats or Republicans. Pledge allegiance to fraternity, burn eternally. Tell them the truth, my folks quick to turn on me. They still learning me, my family is concerning me. I got a flow that's a straight up be earning me, but Satan got it twisted and back, y'all don't miss it. They call me king, but my hand, you don't kiss it. We from the big cities, plus big lights. What a feeling, y'all. We the Israelites.
Long time, but we waking up so many lies we told. We breaking up so many, locked up so many, shot down. You can keep Judah from his crown. Try to hold us, try to break us, take our names away, but couldn't shake us. Now I pray to the Most High with all your might. What a feeling, y'all. We the Israelites. Truth music, the truth movement. This is 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 truth music, the truth movement.
We the Most High's chosen people. We gotta wake up and act like it, man. Pull your pants up, man. Sisters, y'all gotta cover yourselves. It's not the way of the Most High. We the chosen people. What a feeling. We the Israelites. The Messiah was black, man. Moses was black. Man, we gotta reverse the curses. Y'all feel me? I want y'all to get close to the speaker. Zone with me. Focus your energy on the Most High, man. He said the other nations is nothing but spit to him. Spittle. They nothing, he call them a no people, man. And we gotta be a light to the Gentiles. Y'all feel me? I'm transparent, man, when I'm on this mic. When I do music, man, you can see my soul, my spirit. Everything, man, I lay it on the line for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we the children of Israel. The Most High's chosen people, man. Oh, zone out with me. Zone out with me. Focus on the Most High. Love the Messiah. Follow 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 the Messiah.
The word of Yahuah speaks of a man. He received Yahuah's promise, and his name was Abba. Oh, my people, can you hear me? I'm calling you from that distant shore. Repent and return unto me. Zion is calling you back home. I chose you for myself, but you chose your own way. Disobedience in God caused you to go astray. I cast you off. Now it seems you've lost your way. You can't remember who you are. That's the price you had to pay. Lost sight of who I am. A sad price you had to pay. But I hear him calling, oh my people, can't you hear me? Calling you from that distant shore. Repent and return unto me. Zion is calling you back home. If my people that are called by my name would humble themselves and seek my face and pray, I will hear you. Oh, I'll write Torah upon your hearts, and from there you won't depart. I will heal you and heal your land. But you can't remember who you are. That's the price you had to pay. Lost sight of who I really am. A sad price you had to pay. But he's calling you, oh my people, don't you hear me? I'm calling you from that shore. Repent, repent, and return unto me. Zion is calling you back home, calling you, calling you, calling you. Zion is calling you back home, calling you, calling you, calling you. Not Jamaica, calling you, calling you. Not America, north or south. Zion is calling you. Oh, allow Yahuah.
Allow Yahuah. Praises to Yahuah, Shalom Mashpaka, Alahuyah.
You are the branch, you are the bridegroom, you are the teacher, you are the healer, you are worthy to be praised. There is none like you, none like you. There is none like you, none like
Shalom to you all, Mashpaka. It is wonderful to see each and every one of you today. It is great to be here. We give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem for his greatness. As we prepare to begin today, family, I'm going to go to Zoom. I'm going to open the Zoom app. As we prepare to begin today, I'm going to be reading from the book of 2nd Esdras. As they say, Esdras. I'm going to be reading from the book of 2nd Esdras as we prepare to begin to open up in prayer, just reflecting on the greatness of Yahuah, the promises of Yahuah. We continue in our study in the series of our entitled Our Last Great Hope. And we look around us and we see everything that goes on. Sometimes it can feel as if there is no hope, but Yahuah is indeed our last great hope, and so we give him praise, honor, and esteem for that. We're going to go to his word today, but before I begin to read from the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 6, I'm going to go ahead and open up Zoom, and so Mashpaka, if you certainly would like to hear from you today. It's been a while since I've heard your voice, and so I'm going to open up Zoom here today, and this is my prayer and my hope that everything goes well, that we're not interfered with. What happens is I noticed that when I open it, my volume dropped, and that's why I didn't bother to open it sooner. But hopefully you'll be able to hear me clearly. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the program now. Again, for the family who wishes to join us via Zoom, that number, the meeting ID is 853-555-904. That's 853-555-904. 853-555-904. That's the meeting ID for Zoom. Just so you know, the room there is open, and so you're certainly able to join if you care to. All right. Well, like I said before, I'll be reading from the book of 2nd Esdras as we prepare to open up today. I want to say once again, shalom to you all, family. Greetings to you in the great and the awesome and the magnificent name of Yahuah. We give him praise, honor, and esteem, and we say Toda Rabbah Yahuah for bringing us together once again and for making it possible for us to be assembled in your great name. So we're going to the book of 2nd Esdras. Someone just joined us via Zoom. It is my Akut Shar. Shalom to you, Akut, to you and to your Bayat, my Aki Rab. I want to say shalom to you, family. Okay. 2nd Esdras chapter 6. I just want to reflect on this text today as we prepare to go into our study. And as we prepare to, fellowship together, I want for us to reflect on this. I want to say shalom to my Akut Amunayahu.
Yeah, he just right now, I guess.
Wonderful to see you, Akut. Let me see. Let's see. Wait.
Oh, really? On YouTube?
Here we go. Let me just do something here very quickly. Okay, Zoom is live. I do have to make sure that the mics are muted as we come in. Let me just, it's been a little while here. I've got to remember how to do this. I haven't used Zoom in a while. Yes, okay. All right. Okay, so once again, yes, shalom to you, family. It is wonderful to see you, and wonderful to see you here in the room on Zoom. I'm going to read from the book of Esdras, 2nd Esdras chapter 6, and then I'm going to open up the microphone. Well, I'm going to open up in prayer, and then I'll open up the microphone to the Mashpaka. All right, 2nd Esdras chapter 6. And he said unto me, in the beginning, when Arats was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew. That's just an amazing scenery there for me. And he said unto me, in the beginning, when Arats was made, before the borders of the world stood, or even the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or even the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of messengers were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Zion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered belief for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. This is, by the way, if you back up to chapter 5, you will see that this is a messenger speaking, but the messenger was actually Yahuah speaking to the prophet Esdras. Okay, so when we talk about there is only one Yahuah, and that Yahuah takes on many different forms, some people have a problem with that, but the scriptures is clear, and here is another example of that. Okay, so this is Yahuah speaking, and he's talking about before Arats was established, before transgression, sin entered into the world, before the world ever was, before the wind ever blew, before borders were established, before the heavens were created, before the stars were named. And this is Yahuah speaking, and he said, I believe if you go back to chapter 5, you will see that this is the messenger Uriah speaking, if I remember correctly, who is just another name for Yahuah, an attribute of Yahuah, the attribute that gives light, the attribute of Yahuah that enlightens, right? Okay, so then did I consider these things, and they were all made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that follows? And he says to me, from Abraham unto Yashak, when Yahuah and Ashu were born of him, Yahuah's hand held first the heel of Ashu. For Ashu, who they call Esau, is the end of the world, and Yahuah is the beginning of it that follows. Hallelujah. That's saying a whole lot, family, because what that is saying is, it is saying that those that have oppressed us, they will rule in the beginning. In other words, we will be under their heel for a very long time. So it seems. At the beginning of things, we're only in the beginning, family. And at the beginning of things, it will seem as if we are oppressed. Well, we will be oppressed. So Ashu will rule over us. Esau will rule over us. But then comes the end of Ashu, the end of Esau, and the beginning of Yahuah. That is where Yahuah's reign in the earth is established. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Yashak, verse 8 of 2nd Esdras chapter 6. And he said unto me, from Abraham to Yashak, then when Yahuah and Ashu were born of him, Yahuah's hand held the first the heel of Ashu. For Ashu is the end of the world, and Yahuah is the beginning of it that follows. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras asked you not. I answered then and said, O Yahuah, that bearest rule. If I have found favor in your sight, I beseech you, show your servant the end of your tokens, whereof you showed me part the last night. I'll continue, and this is verse 13. So he answered and said unto me, stand up upon your feet, and hear a mighty sounding voice, and it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where you stand shall not be moved. And therefore when it speaks, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembles and is moved, for it knows that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened that when I had heard it, I stood up on my feet, and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, behold, the days come, and I will begin to draw nigh, and it to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, that they be that have hurt unjustly, that they be that what they be that have hurt unjustly with their uncleanness, with their lawlessness, with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their lawlessness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled, and will begin, I keep reading that verse, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then I will show these tokens. For the books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices, the women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hears, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and Aras the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remains from all these that I have told these shall escape, and see my salvation and the end of your world. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed, and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for belief, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which hath been so long without fruit shall be declared. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him, before whom I stood. And these words said he unto me, I am come to show you the time of the night to come. If you will pray yet more, and fast 7 days again, I shall tell you greater things by day than I have heard. For your voice is heard before the Most High, for the might has seen your lawful dealing, your righteous dealing, they say. He has seen also your chastity, which you have had ever since your youth. And therefore has he sent me to show you all these things, and to say unto you, be of good comfort, and fear not. Now I just want to point out something here again. This is verse 33. He says, and therefore has he sent me to show you all these things, and to say unto you, be of good comfort, and fear not. Remember now, earlier on, the prophet Esdras identified this messenger as Yahuah. And the messenger identified himself as Yahuah, the one who creates all things and the one who will destroy the wicked. But then here, the one who says that he creates all things and the one who the prophet identifies as Yahuah says in verse 33, and therefore hath he sent me to show you all these things. So if this is Yahuah, who sent him? And if it is Yahuah, who could send him? Right? Well, this is Yahuah in lower form. Yahuah manifested in a lower form to his servant in order that he may be able to interact with his servant without his servant being struck dead. And that is the same thing that happened when Yahuah came to deliver his people, when Yahuah came as our Mashiach. Again, I continue to emphasize this because there are people out there who have swallowed the bait, the anti-Mashiach bait. And so I'll continue to emphasize it because I have beloved people. People have been a part of this fellowship who have swallowed the foolishness, who have who have drank from the cup of nonsense, you see. And so I'll continue to emphasize this because it is grievous. And hasten not with the times that are past, to think vain things, that you may not hasten from the latter times. And it came to pass after this, that I wept again and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was my heart vexed within me again, and I began to speak before the Most High. Before who? Before the Most High. His name is Yahuah. For my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Yahuah, thou spakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and said this, let Shamayim and Arats be made, and your word was a perfect work. And then was the spirit, and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commanded you a fair light to come forth of your treasures, that your work might appear. Upon the 2nd day you made the spirit of the firmament, and commanded to part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, that the one part might go up and the other remain beneath. Upon the 3rd day you did command that the waters should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts has thou you have dried up and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of Elohim and tilled might serve you. For as soon as your word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many and diverse pleasures for the taste, the flowers of unchangeable colors and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. Upon the 4th day you command that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gave them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. Upon the 5th day you said unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, and fishes. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of Elohim, that all people might praise your wondrous works. Then did you ordain living creatures, the one you call Hanuk, and the other Leviathan. Not exactly, it's a corrupt translation. Leviathan isn't the exact word. And did separate the one from the other. For the 7th part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Hanuk you gave 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan you gave the 7th part, namely the moist, and kept him in to be devoured, of whom you will, and when. Upon the 6th day you gave commandment unto the earth, that before you it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things. And after these Adam also, whom you made master of all your creatures. Of him come we all, and the people also whom you have chosen. All this have I spoken before you, O Yahuah, because you made the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, you have said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falls from a vessel. And now, O Yahuah, behold these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be masters over us, and to devour us. But we, your people, whom you have called your firstborn, your only begotten, and your fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance in the world? How long shall this endure? Allahu Yahuah. I'm going to stop with the reading there, family. That is the reading from 2nd Esdras, chapter 6. And again, I hope you see how it ties into our study, our last great hope. Yahuah, our last great hope. And so we're going to open up in prayer, and then I'm looking forward to coming to Zoom, opening up the mic on Zoom. It's been a while since we have utilized Zoom because of the problems that we've had. So Mashbaka, if you are on Zoom and you'd like to come to the mic after prayer, I'm going to open up the microphone, and then we'll get into our study. Allahu Yahuah. Praises to Yahuah. Praise you, Abba. Hallelujah. Father, we thank and praise you for this time, for this opportunity. We thank and praise you for your great favor, your great mercy. We thank and praise you for allowing us and empowering us to endure. Even under oppression, you have kept us. Yahuah, your word is true, and what you have spoken to be will be and has been. And so, Father, we praise you for the great hope, the hope of deliverance, the hope of restoration. And even though, Yahuah, it seems so many of our people continue to be asleep, continue to be unaware, continue to lack knowledge of you, even people who are professing to be taught and professing to be teachers, your people still locked up in churches, yet so much of your word they're ignorant to. You said, Yahuah, that in the last times that there would be a famine, not a famine for food, but a famine for your word, and indeed there is a famine. But Yahuah, in your word we studied last time, you said, ask for rain in the latter days. And so we're asking for rain. We're asking that truth would rain down, Yahuah, upon us. We're asking that belief would reign in our hearts. We're asking, Yahuah, that your great power and your great favor would be seen in and among us. We're asking, Yahuah, that your name would be esteemed. So we barak you, Abba. We ask that you would barak this time. Let your word go forth with power. Let it go forth in clarity, and let it go forth with authority that only comes from you. Barak your people, every household represented here, whether it be on Zoom, whether it be on YouTube or on Facebook. We ask that you would barak your people today, wherever scattered. Give us strength to endure. Give us strength to continue, because, Abba, it gets hard sometimes. It gets hard a lot of times. It gets difficult. Yahuah, we are weak. In the flesh we are weak, and we need you. But in you and through you we are made strong. And so, Father, I pray that you would strengthen us and help us to endure. Help us to hold fast to our belief. Help us to hold fast to you. Show us your great power. Show us your magnificence. Show us your great name. Allahu Yahuah. So we barak you today in your great name. Amen. Allahu Yahuah. Praises to Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Once again, I want to say shalom to you, Mashbaka. Beautiful to see you all. I see nothing impossible. 7-7, your hand is up. Shalom to you, Akut. Wonderful to see you again. And I'm gonna unmute your mic, Akut. Please go ahead.
Greetings to everyone. Shabbat shalom to everyone online. And I haven't been on for a little while. And actually, I came in a little late. And I wasn't even able to, I was following along with scriptures, but I wasn't able to find out where, I listened to you, but I didn't know where you were reading.
Got you. I was reading from the book of Second Esdras, so they say Second Esdras, chapter 6.
Okay, Second Esdras chapter 6. Go back and read that. The other thing I hope, which I don't mean to, be redundant in the event that you may have already mentioned it, but I wanted to ask you, how things are with your son next.
Yes.
Because I haven't been able to connect with you guys for a while now, and I'll explain to you why.
Yes. To for asking. With our son, we've secured a lawyer, and even though there's no evidence against him while they released him, the judge ordered that he be released. It's interesting. I got to tell you another part that just happened the other day. But the judge ordered his release because the prosecutors had no evidence to hold him. But one thing the judge did not do was they did not drop the charges. Now we've secured a lawyer. Yeah, you gotta give me a minute. Call your brother for me. Call Elijah or somebody. Yeah, so we secured a lawyer, and what the lawyer advised us was that if he had an attorney, a real attorney representing him, because these public defenders aren't attorneys, but if he had an attorney from the very beginning, those charges could not have been brought against him. But they brought these charges with nothing to support them. But now they didn't drop the charges, so now he has to fight to clear his name of the charges. So he's not arrested, he's home, but they put him on a bracelet. Now the other day, they showed up here they claimed that he had violated the terms of his bracelet, because they said that he left the house at 9:35 at night and did not return until 9:40 the next morning. When in reality, what happened was my wife was getting on my son for a few things, and on our son, and not my son, our son. So my wife was getting on him for a few things, and I was out in the back of the house working on my wife's vehicle. And so he came out the house from the front door, walked around to the back, and sat out there where I was while I was working on the vehicle. He stayed here for 5 minutes, and then he came back into the house from the back door. And so he was only gone for he was excuse me, he was out of range for 5 minutes. What is it? Okay, tell him I say come here. Yeah, was out of range for 5 minutes. So we're home sleeping, and early one morning a whole bunch of cops showed up to the door. They surrounded the house. They had dogs and everything, and they came and they took him out of bed, put the handcuffs on him, locked him up. They had to take him before a judge, and so the judge, they held him for they held him for a few days. So we weren't expecting it, but I guess it was the last time we were on. I looked out and I saw him coming home, and so turned out the judge ordered them to release him again because they were wrong. The reasons they were giving were just wrong. So they keep trying all these things, but Yahuah continue to show favor. So
Praise.
yes,
Praise be to Yahuah.
praise Yahuah. So that's where that is. That's where that is. I mean, we have to he has to fight the case. The lawyer is an expensive. It's expensive, given the charge, because he have different investigators working to prove his innocence and stuff like that. So it makes it expensive. But Yahuah willing, He will see us through it.
Yes, He will. He will see you through. I have so much going on. I haven't been on for a little while. I just want to ask all the mashrakat, please, as Yahuah leads you to, as we lift each other up in prayer, to also remember me as Yahuah leads as well. I lost my father recently, and this one hit me hard. It hit me hard. Like I've shared with the mashrakat that I lost my husband, years ago, and that had hit me. My father was actually, my father is this, like I said on my channel, I did put a video up on my channel, but my dad is my best friend. He's my hero, and he is definitely a giant among men. He's a man who led me spiritually, taught me he's just the type of father that anyone would miss. I miss him so much, and the Most High says, first of all, with your situation, my brother, what kept coming in my heart, in my head, is if we suffer with him, we shall reign with him. And every as old time Jamaican people would say, and I know everyone on here may not understand this, but I will give you the definition as best as I can. Sufferation. They make up words in Jamaica that I just love. Sufferation. It's like the everything with us being in the body of Yahuah is opposite to this world. So, in this world, it's, you get, accolades and awards and Oscars and Grammys and all kinds of things. And they think that you've become elevated, and all of a sudden you've taken over the news and you're this huge, big celebrity. But in the family and the body of Yahuah, and in the family of Yahusha, Mashiach, and the Ruach HaKodesh, when we get hard blows, that is our accolade. It is, and it's so hard to understand that. It's very hard to grasp it, because that is why you have to eat, sleep, drink, live, and stay glued to the word. Because if you, like you were mentioning, there's a few people that have, decided to drink the Kool-Aid of nonsense. It's the same thing. All the enemy needs is a foothold. And I'm going to close out, but I want to tell you guys that in the last days, the very elect, if possible, will be deceived. That is serious, Mashpaka. That is very serious. The elect, the very elect. This is not the and when I say I mean it's not the everyday, just any old, Bible thumping person. This is the study to show thyself approved, prophetically inclined, faithful, giving the word, fasting, praying, doing all the things that we're called to do. That is the elect, and they can be deceived in the last day. How much more, Mashpaka, are we to realize that this is where we have to keep our heart to the pulse of Yahuah? So, my brother, what you are going through, it's an accolade, hard to swallow for some certain people. And a lot of people would run me and tell me, get out my face, I don't want that. Well, I do. Because if I suffer with him, I shall reign with him. Now, it's a hard cup It's a hard pill to swallow because even Yahusha Hamashiach said, if you could please take this cup from me, but not my will, your will be done, Yahuwah. Because some of these things that we have to go through, he said we have to go through worse than he went through.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say it's not to be downcast because the story is not over. It's not over. It's the endurance, my family. So please, I'm missing my dad profusely. It's so, it's this one punched me in my heart. This one hit me hard because we talk every day, maybe 5-6 times a day, and it was unexpected. So, but to Yahuwah be all the glory because I still have my Heavenly Father. I still have my Heavenly Father, but I'm hurting, Mashmaka. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you otherwise. My tears are flowing even right now as we speak. But I love you, Mashmaka, my brother, and I'm telling you, between you, your wife, your family, this is just going to take you to another level. Just endure, and also there's a lesson in it for your son as well. And I hope that he gets the blessing out of this lesson. And that's what I have to say. Thank you. I'm sorry I took up so much time.
No problem, Akut. No problem. Praise Yahuwah and Tuda, and we want to express our deepest and most sincere condolences and our prayers for you and your family at this difficult time. And so, Akut, may Yahuwah bring you comfort as only He can. And I want to say also to the for your words of encouragement, because they're very important. Family, if I can be real, if I can be real, over the past little while now, I don't know how long it's been, but every day for me has been a struggle, and every time for me to sit before this computer and to open up this room for fellowship, for some time now, it's been a struggle. I've had the adversary come at me up to the very last minute. You don't have time for this. You don't need to do this. You're not worthy of doing this. You this, you that. It's all kinds of stuff.
Attacks. You're being attacked.
And it's not easy. And then on top of all that, when you see people that you've been growing in this walk with, and then you see them turn to something else, that also becomes another thing, another burden, another weight, and so it's not easy. But your encouragement is truly appreciated, and may Yahuwah just continue to strengthen us, to barak us, and to keep us, because we're living in some perilous times.
I just want to say one more thing, my brother. Let me just tell you this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We read, I'm talking about myself first and foremost. I speak of myself. We read the word. We ingest the word.
Mm-hmm.
But we really, really have to understand that these are not just words, they are life. They are, when you were speaking of people that you've been, walking with for quite some time, the scripture came to me. My brother that I took sweet counsel with. We took sweet counsel before the Most High. We broke bread. And took sweet counsel. My own brother has turned against me, my familiar brother. These are all truths. And so, I said to someone recently, I said, the Most High, I said, Yahusha walked with Judas through every miracle, through every healing, through every situation, through the feeding of the 5,000, to the healing the blind, making the lame to walk, doing all these things, and knew that he was a traitor. Not only that, but he gave him the money to hold the money. And he is watching this man, knowing you are going to have me killed. And how painful. Because I'm telling you, at that Last Supper, when he said, you know, even one of you are about to go betray me. Hurry up, go get them. And everyone said, well, and it also touched me when everyone said, who is it, me? Because they all had something in their heart. Come on now. Is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Nobody said, it's not me. It's not me. It's not me. That thing always comes back to me. Why everyone say, is it me? What do I do? There's a little guilt to me. I could be wrong, but that's my story. Okay, because we're all human.
Yep.
Okay, and yet he still went and did it. Okay, so you know it's gonna hurt, so much pain. But if we suffer with him, we'll reign with him. My brother, you hold on to that scripture. If we suffer with him, we shall reign with him. And we cannot be greater than he is. And he said, greater trials and tribulations will we see than he did, because the servant cannot be greater than the master.
Indeed.
So, you know, I say that to you in love, and thanks again. You know, my
Lord.
brother. And I pray for everyone on here, you know, that you just hold on, because the slightest slip up, you get on these programs and you do it no matter what. Because no matter what, because you have been called to this, and you cannot fall short of your calling, because you will be in full disobedience.
Indeed. Indeed. Praise Yahuah.
Even if there's only one person on here, I don't care if there's nobody on here. You still do it.
Indeed. Indeed. And you know, there's always somebody, and that in itself is encouragement, because when I'm absent, people let me know that it you know, your voice and hearing what Yahuah brings through you matters to us. And so you know, give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. I want to go to, if there's anyone else today who would like to come to the mic. Family, it's been a while since we've heard you, and I want to say Tuda Rabbah to you once again, Akut, for all of your encouragement, and may Yahuah continue to strengthen you also in your time of grief. Tuda. All right, let me go to see if there's anyone else who would like to come to the mic. Akut Shar, please go ahead, Akut Sharia. Shalom to you. There we go.
I got it. Can I be heard again?
Nice and clear.
Oh, praise be to the Most High. Hallelujah. It's good to be here. It's good to see everyone.
Yes.
Man, have I been missing you and everybody.
I've been missing that beautiful voice too.
I don't have much to say. My husband or my Ayash, he's working. I don't have much to say. I just want to praise Yahuah for keeping us and watching over our coming and our goings.
Yes,
and for bringing us back together here. I just pray that we've all been, just doing, even when we can't be together here, just doing our own study and just meditating on what we do know, what we have learned from, when you're teaching us. And of course, prayers are going out to Akut, 77, I don't know the name.
Yeah.
She was and prayers go out to she and her family. our prayers go out to her,
Yes.
and of course to everybody in the room here. And so, and I just wanted to say that, and it's just so good to be here and to hear the voices of our brethren. And praise be to Yahuwah, hallelujah. I'll let the mic go.
Allahu Yahuah, to that Rabbah Akut, to that Rabbah. And great and wonderful to hear you. And may Yahuwah truly continue to barak you and your bayat and to strengthen you. Shalom to you all, Mashpaka. Love you, appreciate you, delighted to see you. Can't express that enough. Also, I want to emphasize here today the text that I read starting off today, the text that I shared with you. Let's see, second Esdras, as they say, second Esdras, chapter 6. I would encourage you to go back and to read that text and to meditate on it, because it is a source of strength, it is a source of encouragement, it is a source of reminder of what Yahuwah says concerning his people, his promise for his people. And so I want to encourage you to go back and to read that and to meditate on it. Or if you want to go back to this video later on and listen to the reading again, that's fine too. Now, so we are getting back to our study. We have been on the subject of our last great hope for some time, and as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, that the text that I was reading from has everything to do with our last great hope. I believe that that is clear. Sometimes life can seem hopeless. It really can. It can feel hopeless. It can seem hopeless, but we're not without hope. And so, family, it is only because of the goodness of Yahuwah, the greatness of Yahuwah. You know, sometimes we can be tempted to think that we're keeping ourselves. And that's because oftentimes the way Yahuwah works, and especially in these times, he can seem so silent. And he can seem so distant. And so we can be tempted to think that we are keeping ourselves. But we are not keeping ourselves. You know, life is very fragile. Life is truly fragile. Think about it. Life is truly, truly fragile. You can fall. You can be walking up your steps coming into your house, and you slip. You trip. You fall. Maybe a fall of a foot. And without warning, you're dead. Life is that fragile. There are so many things and so many ways out there to show you the fragility of life. It's important then for us to take note and know that we do not keep ourselves, and we cannot keep ourselves. We do not provide for ourselves. But it is Yahuwah that provides. It is He that shows favor. Because the fact of the matter is, even there are many people out there who would like to do you harm. There are many people out there who would like to do everything they can to hold you back. And so the fact that you even make some progress is a reminder that Yahuwah is on our side. And so we give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem. I'm going to go into our study now, family. I want to say shalom once again to all of you. Shalom to my Aki Adial, to my Akut Amunayahu, to my Akut Gina, to my Akut Mahalia, Yashar Al, to my Akut Mary. Shalom to you, Akut, to Akut Bernice. I say shalom to you, my Akut. Wonderful to see you. I want to send my love to Aki Yaram Yahu, to Akut to Aki Yaram Yahu, and is Asha Akut Sharon, not Akut Sharon. Oh, forgive me. Let me see who else is here. Let's see. Bear with me here for a second. Aki Daniel, great to see you, Aki. I want to say shalom to you. Also, I want to say shalom to Yahu is. Shalom to you. Also to my Akut and Aki, Rain Justice Yahuah. That's Aki Yahakab and Akut Sharia. I want to say shalom to you, Mashpaka. To my Aki Urban Street, great to see you, Aki. To my Akut G, it is wonderful to see you, Akut Anitra. Great and wonderful to see you also. Family, to anyone listening whose names are not represented, I greet you in the awesome and the magnificent name of Yahuah. I want to say also shalom to my Aki Michael Rice over there on Facebook, and also to Akut Carolyn Winfield. I want to say shalom to you, Akut, and also to Akut Didi Raider. I want to say shalom to everyone listening, to Aki Rodney Lee. I want to say shalom to you all, family. Wonderful to have you joining us today, and to anyone listening whose names are not represented, I want to say shalom to you. It is my prayer, my hope that our fellowship today, we'll find it to be a baraka indeed, that the word of Yahuah will strengthen you, that it will give you more fervor, more energy, and more zeal to continue for another day and another week. And so, family, without further ado, we're going to get ready to get into our study, pick up from where we left off last time. I know a lot of these studies on YouTube have not been titled correctly. You have about 3 part 2s actually on there, maybe 4 part 2s on YouTube, and that's just not, it hasn't been, I've got to go back and try to retitle them. But today we are picking up in our study, our last great hope. We have been in the book of Zechariah, what they call Zechariah. We have been in there for quite some time now. We have gone line by line, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, and we have covered 10 chapters so far. Today we're going into the 11th chapter. But before we go to chapter 11, and unfortunately, family, I haven't figured out how to allow you to see the text on my screen. I'm going to try one more time here real quickly if I could. But I have not figured out something I used to do, but for some reason it's not working the way it used to. I haven't figured out how to allow you to see the text on the screen. Right now, I'm sure you're not seeing it on YouTube. I'm trying to share it, but you're not seeing it. As a matter of fact, let me see one more thing real quickly here. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Yeah, so I haven't figured it out, family. So unfortunately, I'll just have to leave. I'll just have to leave the banners up there while we read. Okay. All right. We're going back to Zechariah chapter 11, but I want to go back to chapter 10. This is one of the chapters that we covered in our last study. I want to go back to chapter 10, and I want to just highlight a couple of things that maybe I didn't spend a lot of time on the last time we were in our study. But I want you to pay close attention to these words from Yahuah. Okay? In verse 1 of chapter 10 of the book of Zechariah, Yahuah says, ask Yahuah for rain in the time of the latter rain. Yahuah who makes storm clouds, and he gives them showers of rain, the plants in the field to everyone. So here is key, and this is what I want us to focus on, to remember. It's not what we're going to be focusing on in our study today, but it's a key that we need to remember and we need to hold fast to. He says, ask Yahuah for rain in the time of the latter rain. So in the time of the latter rain, put it in our perspective. In the rainy seasons, you have 2 seasons of the year that are rainy seasons. You have the spring rain and you have the fall rain, to put it in our language today. in times past they would say the former rain and the latter rain. Okay, and another way of putting it is they say spring showers bring flowers, right? So you have the spring rain and you have the fall rain. Now, the fall rain, which is the latter rain, is the heavier rain. That is the heaviest rainy season that you have, especially if you live in areas that really, some areas you really see it. You know, some places on the earth, it stands out. They get so much rain that it stands out, right? You remember that situation a few weeks ago where those 12 kids, I think it was 12 kids, and their soccer coach, where they got stuck in that cave because they went into the cave. But okay, go ask Elijah to get it for me, or somebody up there. Go ahead, go ask him. Yes. So my wife is at work, so I'm pulling double duties here, family. Yes. So okay, where was I at? Yeah. So these kids got stuck in that cave. When they went into the cave, conditions were good, right? Some people maybe would say, well, what were they doing in there to begin with? Well, when they went in there, it was fine. People go in there all the time. But it wasn't raining and it wasn't flooded when they went in, or they would have never went in, right? But they went in there and then it started raining quite heavily, because that's what it does at that time of the year. This time of the year in I believe that was Asia, the Philippines or somewhere. I think it is where that was, but that's what it does during that time, right? And so it started raining quite heavily. And as it began to rain, the caves flood, right? And so now they find themselves trapped. And so in that place, they get these heavy rains in the springtime, and then in the fall they get these heavy rains also. We get something like that here, but not with the same intensity. Well, the latter rain is the heavier rain. The latter rain is the heavier rain. Okay, so here's the point. Let me go back to the text. The latter rain is the heavier rain. It's interesting because Yahuah says, here it is, you're in the season of the heavier rain. You're in the season of the heavier rain. Okay? The latter rain, that's when it's the heaviest. And so Yahuah said, when you find yourself in the season of the heavier rain, when you see that you have come to the place where people are beginning to come to a knowledge of who I am. They're coming to a knowledge of my name. They're coming to a knowledge of the truth as opposed to the lies that they have inherited. Yahuah says, when you see truth begin to reign, right, in the season of the latter rain, when it seemed like it's getting heavier, when it seemed like more and more people are hearing about the truth, Yahuah say, ask for more rain. Ask for more rain. So right now, as sometimes as discouraging as it might be, as difficult as it might be, as disappointing as it might be, it is important for us to remember we're in the season of the latter rain, and Yahuah says this is what you must do in the season of the latter rain. Ask for more rain. So verse 1 of Zechariah chapter 10 says, ask Yahuah for rain in the time of the latter rain. Here it is, you have rain already, but he said ask for more rain, right? No, it goes kind of contrary to our thinking, right? Because if you were them kids in that cave, they weren't in the season of the latter rain, but let's say it was the season of the latter rain. Here it is, you find yourself in a cave somewhere, and rain is the reason why you're stuck. And Yahuah said, ask for more rain. But the difference here is that the rain of Yahuah does not leave you stuck. It releases you. It frees you, right? So Yahuah said, ask for rain in the time of the latter rain. Yahuah who makes storm clouds. He makes the storm clouds. Ask him for rain. Okay? Ask him for the enlightenment of his people. Ask him more and more for the awakening of his people. Yes, it's raining, but we want to see it rain harder. We want to see more awakening. We want to see more truth, right? We want to see the people of Yahuah awaken. We want to see the nation of Yasharal arise. You see, so ask for rain, because it is he who makes the storm clouds. It is he who sends the truth. And so ask him to send more truth. So that's one of the things that I believe it's important for us to reflect on. How do we know that we're in the season of the latter rain? Well, watch this prophecy from the prophet Zechariah. Remember, family, it wasn't too long ago. It wasn't too long ago when nobody knew the name Yahuah, right? It wasn't too long ago that nobody knew the name Yahuah. It wasn't too long ago at all. It wasn't too long ago that I actually learned his name was Yahuah. I used to think his name was God. I used to think his name was the Lord, right? I used to think, then I went from God and the Lord to thinking, well, that's his name too, but then his name is also Yahweh, right? I used to think his name was Yahweh, right? I used to think his name was Jehovah, right? And many of us did, right? But look at this. Now we know his name is not Yahweh. His name is not Jehovah. His name is not the Lord. His name is not God, right? Or none of the other things that they have called him. But his name is Yahuah. And there is a prophecy that says that in the time of the latter rain, you will know his name. And these are the signs that will tell you that you're in the time of the latter rain. Look at verse 12 in chapter 10 of the book of Zechariah, verse 12. So in the time of the latter rain, so when will you know when to pray for more rain? When this happens. And I shall make them mighty in Yahuah, talking about his people. And I shall make them mighty in Yahuah, so that they walk up and down in his name, declares Yahuah. You see, right now, a little while ago, a few years ago, we weren't walking up and down in his name. We weren't walking up and down knowing his name. We weren't walking up and down declaring his name. But here it is now. But here it is now. We, his people, know his name. And he says, and I shall make them mighty in Yahuah, so that they walk up and down in his name, declares Yahuah. The language there is also important and interesting, because it goes back to Yahuah, our servant. Yahuah being our servant. You see, Yahuah speaks of himself there in the third person. You notice that? Let me read it again. And I shall make them mighty in Yahuah, and I shall make them mighty in Yahuah. Who is this? Who is he here that says, I shall make them mighty? It is Yahuah. But he says, and I shall make them mighty in Yahuah, so that they walk up and down in, watch this again, his name. It didn't say my name, but his name. Yahuah speaking of himself in third person, not because he's some football player or basketball player or some sports person that's feeling themselves and speak of themselves in the third person. No, not at all. That's not why he's speaking of himself in the third person. He speaks of himself in the third person because Yahuah, he also knows that he, Yahuah, the sovereign, he is also our servant, and his servant, you see, that does his work and works and serves also his people. So the king becomes the servant of the king and also the servant of his subjects. No other king does that. No other king does that. You see, kings, the purpose of kings the purpose of earthly kings, and the reason why they establish kingdoms is to enrich themselves, is to establish an underclass that will serve them. You see? But Yahuah, it's the opposite. Yahuah is the only king who serves his subjects and have no problem with serving himself. Doing his will. You see? Now, let's go now to the book of, go over to chapter 11. So again, remember this from chapter 10. In the time of the latter rain, ask for more rain. What is the sign that we're in the time of the latter rain? Because now all of a sudden the people of Yahuah, the elect of Yahuah, the chosen of Yahuah, the seed of Abraham, they're walking up and down in his name. Coming from a place where they did not even know his name. Now we're walking up and down in his name. It's the time of the latter rain. Let it rain, Yahuah. Alright, now we go to chapter 11 of the book of Zechariah. Again, the title of our study continue to be Our Last Great Hope. When we look around us, we see so much hopelessness. We see so much hatred. You know, just this week in Philadelphia, right next door to me, right next door to Akuda Nitra, these two little kids, two little white boys, and by the way, you know, I have a person at work. He's a racist. He don't realize he's a racist. It's bad when you're a racist and you don't know it. It's bad because what that means is that you grew up in the mess for so long that the stink smells like perfume. you see, he's a racist, but he don't know it. Sad to watch. But he was telling me that he don't see color. He don't see color. When he looked at people, he only see people. He don't see color. And also he's telling me that racism does not exist. That's stuff that politicians and what's that guy's name from New York? They call him Reverend. Whatever his name is there. I forget what his name is. Al Sharpton. He say Al Sharpton and Obama and politicians, they're the ones that put these ideas of racism and hatred in people's minds. He don't see color, and racism don't exist, he says. Right? So I'd asked him to watch a documentary that I just watched on Amazon Prime, and the documentary, I don't remember the name of the documentary right now, but it was made by a white man whose family owned slaves, and he was always told. And so he was always told. This man was always told about how good his family treated the slaves. That when after the Civil War and they were letting the slaves go, his family had 100 slaves, and out of the 100, only one slave decided to leave when the slaves were told that they were free to go. Only one slave decided to leave the plantation. So eventually, in the end, this man's mom became very active in the bus boycotts. A white lady. She became very active in the bus boycotts. She became very active in the civil rights movement. She was locked up alongside black people for protesting the hatred and the injustice that existed in America. Well, not existed, it still exists, but she was locked up in the 1960s. She did a lot of jail time because of that and so on. You know, but he decided to research the history of his family. And what he come to find out is that the story that he was told his whole life about how well they treated their slaves, that when the slaves were told that they could go, only one slave decided to leave. The story was the opposite. 99 slaves left Only one stayed. And why that one stayed, I don't know. Okay, but I was telling this man who told me that racism don't exist and that he don't see color when he only see human beings, he said, you see, but everything else that come out his mouth is just ridiculous, racist, ridiculous, but it's normal to him. You see? And that's the problem. You have a lot of people in this place who are racist to the core, but they don't know it because they're that stupid. That's like Trump. You see? A total idiot. Total racist, but he is such an idiot that he don't even recognize it. You see? Yeah, so I happened to say to this man that, you know, it's a documentary that was made by a white man, so you don't think, you know, oh, this was another black conspiracy. Oh, he cut me off. He said, see, there you go again with the white man. I don't see color. I don't see black and white, you know. So yeah, so when, you know, my point here is this, that we live in a society, family for me, it's a burden, man. It's a burden. You see? When I see the hatred and the hypocrisy, you see, what I see in America is that we're quick to call other people and other nations terrorists, but we don't see that we are terrorists. We don't see how we terrorize. We don't see how we rob. We don't see how we rape. We don't see how we spoil. But we're quick to call other people terrorists. You know? So I started to tell you, there's so many things I could say right now, but let me try to stick to what I was saying. You see? So just this week in Philadelphia, you have, let me give you a little bit of history behind this. There is this playground in Philadelphia, in this neighborhood where, because of gentrification, historically it was a black neighborhood, but because of gentrification, now you have kind of a mixed neighborhood, but the blacks are being pushed out, and you have, you know, whites coming in because they can afford to live there, okay? They can afford to live there. So here is this neighborhood in Philadelphia, and there is this playground built for the neighborhood. Well, this week, two little white boys, they decided it was a great idea to get a black doll, make a noose. I'm going to say this again. Make a perfect noose, put it around the neck of the black doll, and hang it on the playground. Okay? And then hang this black doll from a noose, from a tree, on the playground, and hang it on the playground, right? Well, a pastor, they found out who did it. It was two little white boys that did it. And the pastor came forward as their spokesperson. And his explanation was that the boys did not know that there was anything racist about it. They just thought they would do something to just freak some people out. The words, right? The pastor said that they didn't mean anything racial by it. They didn't know the racial history behind it or anything like that. They just wanted to just have some fun, see how, you know, see if they could scare some people, like from a scary movie kind of thing. Okay, they're little kids. Maybe that's the case, right? Nah, no way. That's not the case. Number one, how did they know how to make the noose so perfectly? They made the noose. Okay? How did they know how to make the noose so perfectly? That's number one. And why didn't they choose a white doll then? Why a black doll? Number two, here's what you might not know yet. This playground is actually not a playground. It's a playground now, but it wasn't a playground for hundreds of years. It wasn't a playground. You know what it was? It used to be a black historic church that sat on the site, and it had a burial ground, a graveyard for the black community. And that's where the black people were buried, going back to the 1800s or so. That's where the black people were buried. Well, what they did was, it was a cemetery with people, relatives of those people still living today. But what they decided to do was, they decided to just bulldoze the thing and to build a playground over the cemetery, not even acknowledging the existence of the cemetery, right? So there has been this hot debate in Philadelphia about the status of that place and how it has been treated. And some white people feel like people are making a big deal over nothing. And so there is this racial thing associated with it. So it's not by coincidence that these kids living in the area would make a noose, put it on a black doll, and hang it on the side of this burying ground, where they know black kids are going to come and play and see it. Black kids and their parents. Okay? So when you see stuff like that, at least when I see stuff like that, it does something to me. It does something to me. It speaks of the wickedness that's entrenched in still a whole lot of people. You see. Speaks of the wickedness that's entrenched. You see. And so it can become frustrating. It can become disappointing. It can become burdensome. It can become discouraging. And it can even make it hard to continue to press. You see? When you look around you, you see, I talked about perilous times earlier, and when we're in church, we hear them talk about perilous times a lot. But you never really hear what perilous times really mean. What is peril? Okay? If I say we're living in perilous times, what am I really saying? Peril. What is a peril? You know what peril is? Peril is stumbling blocks. When people in church, when they say perilous times, you might only think about nuclear war. You see? You're thinking on that level. But no, perilous times means that you will face a lot of perils. You will face a lot of obstacles. You will face a lot of things that will discourage you. You will face a lot of things that cause you to question your belief. You will face a lot of things that make you wonder, is there really a creator who is on my side? You think I'm terrible for thinking that way or for asking that question? Family, I ask the question sometimes. Let me be brutally honest here. I might shock some people, but let me be honest. I can't help but to question sometimes. Is there truly a creator that is on my side? Or was this thing just written to keep me pacified? I ask that question sometimes when I see all the evil around me and I see them getting away with it. But you know what I realize from reading the scriptures? I'm not the only person who asks that question. Remember I just read for you at the beginning here from the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 6. Remember I just read that, right, family? Did you hear when that question was asked in that text? Did you hear when Esdras asked the Creator that? Esdras asked Yahuah, he said, okay, so you said that we are your chosen people, right? You say that you're on our side. So why is it that they continue to oppress us and we see no end in sight? And that's why Yahuah went into explaining to him about a shoe and Yasak, and how a shoe would reign in the beginning, but then he would be destroyed in the end, and then that's when Yaakob's reign would begin. So I realized from Yahuwah's word that I wasn't so terrible to think and to ask those questions. I know I've been told that you shouldn't think like that. You shouldn't ask questions like that. But you know what? I'm human. And I get frustrated. And I get mad. And I get angry when I see the oppression, when I see the injustice, when I see the lies, when I see the hypocrisy, when I see all of those things. It frustrates me and it bothers me. And sometimes I gotta tell you that even when I know the answer to the question, I still find myself contemplating the questions. You see? But thanks to the word of Yahuwah, I realize that I'm not the only one with questions. People greater than me, people who had better relationships with Yahuwah than I do, they had the very same questions. People who spoke with Yahuwah face to face, they had the same questions. They had the same concerns. Here it is. I ain't never seen Yahuwah face to face. So who am I? All right. Let's go on to Zechariah chapter 11, family. Allahu Yahuwah. Hey, wait, let me go back. I missed that, fam. Let me go back to the board. Zoom. Mayaki Yaramyahu says, we may as well prepare for present and future event of outright accepted expressive actions of lawfully persecutions that this country and those who claim they don't understand are behind it all. Yes, indeed. Now, Zechariah chapter 11. Open your doors, O Lebanon, and let fire devour your cedars. Oaks, howl, O cypress, for the cedar has fallen, because the mighty are ravaged. Now, remember Esdras that we read, where it talks about how those in power, how the strong will be brought low? Well, this is a continuation of the same message, continuation of the same theme. This is the prophecy of Yahuwah. So I want you to take encouragement from this, family. Even though you've been beaten down, trampled on, oppressed, ignored, looked past, because they don't even look at you. They act like you don't exist. Have you ever had that experience? Do you have that experience of work with people who they talk past you, they look past you, they act like you're not there, they act like you don't exist because they feel like they're above you, they're better than you, only because of the color of their skin? I've had that experience. I still have that experience. I'll have it Monday when I go to work. You see. Howl, O cypress, for the cedar has fallen, because the mighty are ravaged. The mighty are ravaged. They will be ravaged, the one who see himself as mighty. Howl, O oaks of Bashan, for the dense forest has come down. Listen, the howling of shepherds, for their splendor is ravaged. Listen, the roaring of lions, for the pride of the Yarden is ravaged. Thus said Yahuwah, my Elohim, feed the flock for slaughter. Let me give you a little bit of context here. You see, judgment begins in the house of Yahuwah. Judgment first begins in the house of Yahuwah. So, Yahuwah, he disciplines his children first. He disciplines his house first. So, it's it's not by coincidence that we find ourselves the first to suffer, because it's not mere suffering, it's chastisement. It didn't just happen to us because we are innocent. It's chastisement. You see? It's chastisement. No, people don't suffer just because. It's chastisement. It's discipline. It's correction. Okay? So, what's happening? Why are we now below, beneath, and not above? Why are we the tail and not the head? Why do we find ourselves living in holes instead of in homes? Why do we find our storehouses empty? Why do we find that our baskets are not full? Why do we find ourselves borrowing at astronomical interest rates instead of being the lenders? Why do we find this happening? Because we are being chastised. But you see, chastisement begins. Yahuah is not a dysfunctional father. He deals with his children first. He don't go outside trying to correct somebody else's child when his house is a mess. He deals with his house first. He deals with his rebellious children first. And so, he's dealing with us first. So we're being chastised, right? In the same way, family, let's put this in context. You see, the book of Zechariah, while it speaks of a future, it also spoke of the present. It spoke to Yasharal where they were. We talk about this a lot. Foretelling and forthtelling prophecy, right? It spoke to them where they were, as well as it speaks to their future, which speaks to our present. And so, Yahuah was telling Yasharal, he was chiding Yasharal. He was talking to them about where they were and what they were doing. That's what the book of Zechariah is doing. That's what all the visions that Zechariah saw, that's what it's about. You know what, family? Bear with me just for a second. I think I might have... No, I still have the Facebook feed. Okay? Yeah, so... that's what the book of Zechariah is about. So he's chiding with his people. He's telling them about judgment that is to come upon them, but he's also talking to them about restoration, right? And so when he talk about open your doors, O Lebanon, and let fire devour your cedars, he's talking about judgment coming upon his own people. Judgment comes upon them first, right? But then he goes to Cyprus. Okay, and he deals with the adversary, the enemy of his people. So after he has chastised his people, then he deals with the adversaries of his people. So howl, O Cyprus, for the cedar has fallen, verse 2 of Zechariah chapter 11, because the mighty are ravaged. Howl, O oaks of Bashan, for the dense forest has come down. Listen, the howling of shepherds, for their splendor is ravaged. Listen, the roaring of lions, for the pride of the garden is ravaged. Thus said Yahuah, my Elohim, feed the flock for slaughter. He fattens his own for slaughter, as well as he fattens the wicked for slaughter. Whose owners slaughter them and feel no guilt, and their sellers say, Baruch be Yahuah. It's the only time they give Yahuah praise. When they make merchandise of his people. Oh yeah, Yahuah has truly, as they would say it, Yahuah has truly blessed us. Do you know that the lawless ones, even before we came into a knowledge of his name, they knew his name? The lawless ones? Yeah, they knew his name. They praised Yahuah for giving them, well, they don't even acknowledge it that much, that he gave them power. They just praise him for us. Yeah, they knew Yahuah. They know the name of Yahuah. Have you ever seen that video clip of that movie? I forget what movie it was, from the 1950s. Where you have whoever the actor was talking about Yahuah. about the name of the creator is Yahuah in the 1950s? They've always known it. Peter O'Toole, yep. You see? They've always known it. They don't give him praise for who he is. They also have always known who his people are. They know who we are. Even though they have stolen our identity, they know who we are. Even though they have taken our land, they know who we are. They've always known it. You see? So they mockingly praise Yahuah for them having power over us. But they don't realize they've only been given power for a time. But payday is on its way. Yep, payday is on its way. Alright, now, let me go back to, so he says, thus said Yahuwah my Elohim, feed the flock for slaughter, whose owners slaughter them and feel no guilt, and their sellers say, Baruch be Yahuwah, for I have become rich. And their own shepherds do not spare them. Yeah, their own shepherds, our own leaders. For I shall no longer spare the inhabitants of the land. So this was Yahuwah's promise concerning his people. This is why we are where we are, dealing with what we're dealing with, suffering what we're suffering. For I shall no longer spare the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuwah, but see, I am delivering up mankind, each one into his neighbor's hand, and into the hand of his king. And they shall crush the land, but I do not deliver from their hand. So I shepherded the flock meant for slaughter, the truly poor of the flock, and I took for myself 2 staffs. The one I called pleasantness, and the other I called unity, and I shepherded the flock. Then I sent off the 3 shepherds in 1 month, for my being despised them, and their being also loathed me. Okay, so I said, I am not shepherding you. Let the dying die. You hear this? This is Yahuwah speaking. So I said, I am not shepherding you. Let the dying die, and the straying stray, and let those who are left eat each other's flesh. And I took my staff, pleasantness, and cut it in 2, to break the contract which I had made with all the peoples. I broke the contract that I made with my people. So it was broken on that day, and the poor of the flock who were watching me knew that it was the word of Yahuwah. And I said to them, if it is good in your eyes, give me my wages, and if not, refrain, keep it. So they weighed out for my wages 30 pieces of silver. They sold him as a slave. A prophecy of what would happen when Yahuwah would come to deliver his people. Right? Sold him. They weighed out 30 pieces of silver, the price of a slave. And Yahuwah said to me, throw it to the potter, the splendid price at which I was valued by them. Mashiach. And I took the 30 pieces, prophecy, and I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of Yahuwah for the potter. Then I cut in 2 my other staff, unity, to break the brotherhood between Yehuda and Yasharal. Yep, broke the brotherhood. And Yahuwah said to me, take again the implements of a foolish shepherd. For look, I am raising up a shepherd in the land who does not visit those straying, nor seek the young. He said, verse 15, and Yahuwah said to me, take again the implements of a foolish shepherd. A foolish shepherd. What does the foolish shepherd do? What does the foolish shepherd look like? This is what the foolish shepherd does. For look, I am raising up a shepherd in the land who does not visit those straying, nor seek the young, nor heal those that are broken, nor feed those that stand still. But he does eat the flesh of the fat and tear off their hoofs. Woe to the worthless shepherd forsaking the flock. Let a sword be upon his arm, and upon his right eye. His arm shall wither, and his right eye shall be dimmed. A warning to those foolish shepherds who prey on the people of Yahuah instead of praying for the people of Yahuah. Who prey upon the people, eat the fat of the people, do not seek the restoration of the people. Well, family, I'm going to stop there for today in our study. I'm going to try to keep the video limited to as short as possible. For rebroadcast, and then we'll come back next time and we'll go to chapter 12, because it's not the end of the story. In our last great hope. And so I'm going to open up the microphone. I don't know if there are any comments or questions, Mashpaka, but Zoom is open, so if anyone would like to come to the microphone, you can come to Zoom, or if you want to type, if you have a question you want to type on YouTube, you can do so. We're going to stop here in our study for today. Let's see, bear with me here just for a second. Let me find my place. Trying to go to YouTube. Okay. I'm just reading from Mayakut Sharia Aki Yaakov. I am still asking lots of questions too. We have been lied to so much. There's truly more to unlearn and learn to grow in the truth. I don't want to be afraid to question, as I feared as a Christian. Yes, indeed. And that's a great point, Akut, because you see, Christianity is a religion built on fear, and you are cautioned against questioning. And that's what the adversary wants. And that's what a dictator wants. A dictator don't want to be questioned, right? A liar don't want to be questioned, and so they seek to discourage questioning. I believe that Yahuah is fine with your questioning. I believe Yahuah is fine with our questioning. He can stand up to the questions. I feared being rejected or hurting someone's feelings, but truly, all I am after is the truth. I am being patient and diligently studying in prayer that I won't be led astray. But I believe we aren't done. Yes, indeed, Akut. I don't believe we are done either. I believe that there is much more for us to understand and much more for us to learn. And I believe that there are probably more lies to be uncovered. I'm struggling greatly in this life, in this time of trying to go on without my children, and so much rejection. Prayers for you all. Mashpaka, Machahab. Praise Yahuah. I know how difficult that must be. You know, as a father, it's difficult, but as a mother, it's much more difficult, I believe, not to have your children. It's a painful thing. Probably, I don't know. I can only imagine that you could probably come close. Losing a child could probably, I don't know, at some point of your grief, you probably feel the same, something similar to the pain you felt in child's birth, you know, from an emotional perspective. So I know it's difficult for you, Akut, and may Yahuah strengthen you and continue to ask for restoration, because that's really a difficult thing. It's a trying thing, and may Yahuah give you the strength that you need and the favor of restoration. My Akut wrote, people tend to believe that because the Most High does not immediately deal with the wicked for their wickedness, that they are getting away with their sins. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Certainly true. Alright, let me go to Zoom here real quick. Now let me go to Aki Yahu. Please go ahead, Aki. I'm going to unmute your mic. Can you hear me, Aki?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Shalom to you, Aki.
Shalom to you and Master Khan. My heart hurts when I hear so much that you and your family going through, and many others in Master. I want everybody to know that you're forever on my heart, family, and I believe, I know that Father Yahuah has all this in his hands. It's everything that's happening at this day and time around the world, in all of our families, whatever we're going through. It's, even though the enemy is doing everything against us, I believe that even though the enemy thinks he's in charge, he needs to know that all he do is still according to Father Yahuwah's plan, and it's gonna work out for his children. So when it gets difficult, just know it's still according to Father Yahuwah's plan, because it all has to work out for us. I love you all, and I just say my heart just hurt, and I know He's gonna work this out for you, Aki. You and Aku, about your son. So just keep your head up, because it's all going to work out. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you or anyone in the family. Isn't there a scripture that says, I will give you pastors after my own heart?
Yes, indeed. Yashayahu, chapter 12 or 13. I forget exactly which one it is, Aki.
Okay.
Or Yahu, one of them, I forget. Yeah.
Okay. Yahu, or yeah. And what chapter?
I believe it's chapter 12 or chapter 13.
Okay. Thank you so much. I love you all. I'm signing out.
Love you too, Mayaki, and love you, Akut, Yolanda. Appreciate you guys. Always wonderful to see you and to hear you. and you're a continued testament to the greatness of Yahuah. And so we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. I want to the Mashbaka, I want to say, and I want to honor Akut Yolanda here in this moment. I remember when my Aki Yaram Yahu, he was at death's door, I guess you could say. But his Asha, she continued to believe, and she continued to trust Yahuah, and she continued to be there, for her husband every step of the way. And
every step of the way.
Every step of the way, and that's just an awesome and amazing thing. And it's just I don't know how to put it in words, but Aki Yahuah has given you a wonderful Asha, and praise Yahuah for her. She's a wonderful asset to the family of Yahuah. And she's just truly a baraka. You are a baraka. I praise Yahuah for you all.
And we praise Yahuah for all of you all, because you have been such a wonderful support, and also you helped us. You, Akeem, and the whole family have helped us understand this truth that we have come into, because a lot of times we didn't understand, and I'm so grateful to Yahuah for you all.
Praise Yahuah.
I love you.
Love you too. One word, one adjective I forgot to use as it relates to Akut Yolanda is strong. She's a strong woman. And so, as many of our women are. And so, praise Yahuah for that. Praise Yahuah. All right. Tuda Rabaki, great to hear you. Great to hear you. All right, family. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to come to the mic before we close out? All right. Let me see. Akut Shar, your hand is raised. Go ahead, Akut. I hope it's not because I forgot to put it down earlier.
No, I just raised it.
Oh, okay.
I was going to let someone else speak.
No,
because
that's fine.
because I'm probably just going to get off topic a little bit, so I was going to let whomever else speak.
Okay, no problem.
So there were no other hands raised?
No, there isn't.
Okay. Those were great words, Aki Yermiyah. Hallelujah.
Praise Yahuah.
And a wonderful lesson as usual, Aki. Always, always.
Praise Father. Praise Father.
Okay, so here's my question. I was having a conversation with one of the brethren, and we were talking about Yahuah. Yahuah divorced us, correct?
Yes, yes.
I know he put away one and he divorced one or something like that. But I was saying, we are divorced from Yahuah, and the person made mention, but Yahusha, he came and he died for us, and he took on certain in our infirmities, our sins, and things like that. And I said, yes, exactly. Which now, because he did that, that gives us a way to now be able to come back into the house. But had he not done that, I think the Father, once he divorced, we would have been just done away with.
Yes.
But let me just say this: in Jeremiah 3 is the scripture. Jeremiah 3:8 is the scripture and verse that I gave, showing that Yahuah divorced us.
Yes.
But are you able, Aki, to elaborate a little bit on Jeremiah 3 for my brethren that's possibly listening, and so we can both understand it, because I may be wrong, and I don't want to steer somebody in the wrong direction.
Yeah, no problem. I'd be happy, very happy to do that, Akut. And to the Rabbah for bringing that up. Yes, let me do that. Let me go to Yahu, Jeremiah chapter 3, and I'll read here for a little bit. I believe up to, I mean, you can continue to read further because all of it is in context concerning the separation, the putting away, and the restoration. The whole book of Yahu is really what it's dealing with. Whether Yahuah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Akut.
I'm sorry. I just broke right in.
That's fine. That's fine.
Get carried away sometimes. Okay. And I try to give an example. I said, okay, so let's use husband and wife. Let's say the husband now that's walking in the truth here. A husband puts away his Asha and he divorces her as well, and then he wants her back. And of course, he's not dead because he wants to take her back.
Yes.
And in order for her to get with anyone or want to get with anyone, she has to go back to him, correct? Okay, so I was using that as the Most High divorced us. Yahushua came and he died on the stake for us. And now we can come back to him. So I don't know. Maybe I said it better the day I was talking to the person, but I kind of use that as, an example where the husband puts us away an Asha.
Yeah.
He can take us back and we can come back to him as well. So I'll get off the mic.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, Akut, what is the person's thinking? Are they saying that we were put away, so now there is no coming back? Was that the premise? Is that what they were thinking?
No, the thinking was, no, we were not divorced from you. He did not divorce us.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll show in the scriptures that he did divorce us. So, Yahu, Jeremiah chapter 3. Elohim said, if a man puts away his wife, is Asha, and she goes from him and becomes another man's, does he return to her again? Now, that's an interesting question. Because what Yahuah is showing is that, you know what? I made a law. So he asked this question, and the answer to this question is found now in the book of Dabarim, chapter 24. So I'm going to pause here at the first part of this verse. Look at Yahuah's question. As a matter of fact, I'll read the whole verse. He has a couple questions in verse 1 here in Yahu chapter 3. Then we're going to go over to Dabarim chapter 24 to see why he poses this question. He's posing the question to Yashar. He's posing the question to his people who knows the answer to this question, right? So in other words, Yahuah is asking his people a rhetorical question. So let's look at this. Elohim said, if a man puts away his Asha, his wife, and she goes from him and becomes another man's, does he return to her again? Would not that land be made greatly unclean if she did? But you have committed whoring with many lovers, and would you return to me? Declares Yahuah. Okay, so there's the first part of the question, right? Yahuah is making a point. He's asking a rhetorical question to a people who knows the answer. And the answer to that is, okay, let's go to Dabarim chapter 24, and then we're going to come back to Yahu chapter 3. Let's go over to Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 24. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 24, begin reading in verse 1. When a man takes a wife and shall marry her, then it shall be, if she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found a matter of uncoveredness in her, and he shall write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. And if she left his house and went and became another man's wife, And the latter husband shall hate her, and write her a certificate of divorce, and put it in her hand, and send her out of his house. Or when the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled. For that would be an abomination before Yahuah, and do not bring sin, transgression on the land which Yahuah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. Okay? So Yahuah says, if a man takes a woman and that man find that that woman is guilty of something, she has broken the law in some way, the marriage law, and she is guilty. If that man puts her away and she becomes another man's wife, and that other man now puts her away, or if that man dies, she cannot return to her first husband, because then that would defile the land. Yahuah said that ought not to happen, right? But hold up now. Hold up. But in Yirmiyahu chapter 3, as we will see, we see where Yahuah put away his people. Not only in Yirmiyahu chapter 3, Yahuah divorced his people, right? He divorced the house of Yaakov, and he scattered the house of Yehuda, right? So he divorced them, but then he take them back. Oh, but that's a violation of his own law, isn't it? Or is it? Oh, but there are certain conditions have to be met. It's not only here where we see this happening. It's not only in the book of Yirmiyahu where we see after he has divorced his people, he take them back. We also see in the book of Husha, what they call Hosea. Remember the story of Hosea's wife, Husha's wife? How after Yahuah told him to go marry a whore, knew she was a whore. He told him, go marry her, bring her home, had a couple kids, had one kid with her, then she left. She wanted to go back to the streets. Told her, go back and get her. Yeah, no, she's defiled. Go back and get her. Bring her back, bring her home, clean her up, keep her home. She's your wife. Bring her back home. She got pregnant again, had another kid, decided to leave again, right? Went out there and things got tough. And she thought about it. She said, you know, when I was home, I ain't had to be worried about where my next meal was coming from, where clothes was coming from. Let me go back home. Okay? Went back home. Prophet didn't want to take her back. Yahuah said, take her back. Okay? The purpose of that, it was to show Yasharal how they were acting, how they looked, and how even though they had went out and defiled themselves, Yahuah was willing to take them back, right? Anyway, let's go back now to the book of Yirmiyahu chapter 3. So we see the precept, right? We see where Yahuah says she can't come back because she's defiled. Now she's going to defile the land. But then Yahuah does just that. That's why he has this rhetorical question. He asked Yasharal this question in Yirmiyahu chapter 3. It's a rhetorical question. He knew they know the answer. Elohim said, if a man puts away his wife, back in the book of Jeremiah chapter 3, if a man puts away his wife and she goes from him and becomes another man's, does he return to her again? Would not that land be made greatly unclean? But you have committed whoring with many lovers. And would you return to me, declares Yahuah? All right, now, let's go down. Lift up your eyes to the bare heights and see. Where have you not lain with men? Besides the ways you have sat for them like an Arabian in the wilderness. And you made the land unclean with your whorings and your evil. So you see, they made the land unclean with their whorings and their evil. Therefore the showers have been withheld, and there has been no latter rain. You have had a whore's forehead. You refuse to be ashamed. Shall you not from now on cry to me, my father? You are the guide of my youth. Are you the guide of my youth? Does one bear a grudge forever? Does one keep it to the end? See, you have spoken and done the evils that you could. And Yahuah said to me in the days of Yashayahu the king, have you seen what backsliding Yasharal has done? She has gone up on every high mountain and under every green tree, and there committed whoring. And after she had done all these, I said, return to me. But she did not return. And her treacherous sister Yahudah saw it. And I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Yasharal had committed adultery, I had put her away. I had put her away. Watch this now. So for the person who says that he never divorced Yasharal, the house of Yahakab, here it is. And I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Yasharal had committed adultery, I had put her away, same language from Dabarim chapter 24, and given her a certificate of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Yahudah did not fear, but went and committed whoring too. And it came to be, through her frivolous whoring, that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and wood. And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Yahudah has not turned to me with all her heart, but falsely declares Yahuah, and said to me, backsliding Yasharal has shown herself more righteous than treacherous Yahudah. And Yahuah said to me, go and proclaim these. Go and proclaim these words to the north, and say, return, O backsliding Yasharal. So after he had divorced them, now he goes and he says, return. I'm willing to take you back, declares Yahuah. I shall not look on you in displeasure, for I am kind, declares Yahuah, and I do not bear a grudge forever. Only acknowledge your crookedness, because you have transgressed against Yahuah your Elohim, and have scattered your ways to strangers under every green tree, and you have not obeyed my voice, declares Yahuah. Now, and he begged them again, return to me. So he put them away, but then he said, return to me. Now, how can he do that? And how would he be able to do that? They transgressed, they sinned. Well, in the Torah makes a way for the covering of sin, and the only thing that can cover transgression is blood, right? But the Torah of what you call they call it again, forget the word I'm looking for, but the basically is the ceremonial Torah concerning redemption. Yahuah did away with it. The ceremonial Torah concerning redemption, Yahuah did away with. That's what Shaul was talking about when he said that Torah was done away. He was talking about the ceremonial Torah of redemption. In other words, you can't go slay a lamb or a goat or something to cover your transgressions anymore. That ain't gonna save you. Okay, that's not what redeems you. The only redeemer you have is Yahuah. You don't have a goat as a redeemer. You don't have a bull as a redeemer. Yahuah is your only redeemer. And so Yahuah came, shed his blood for the redemption of his people, because without the shedding of blood, there can be no redemption for transgression. There can be no covering for transgression. All right, that's a short response, Akut, but hopefully, I'm hoping it's clear and it helps. But it's a short response. Let me know if you need any further clarity, Akut.
Okay, that was beautiful.
Great.
So, okay. So I guess my question is, because now the strangers were never in the house, so they have to be engrafted in, right?
But also,
now, okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Now, we were once in the house and we got kicked out of the house. Now, do we have to be re-grafted back in? If I'm saying that word properly.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely, and Yahusha, in other words, Yahusha is the door of of ingraft. Let me put it that way. We have to come through him. That's how we are re-engrafted back in.
Okay, so we are divorced. We're still divorced until we are regrafted or engrafted back in.
Yeah, re-engrafted. Yep.
Okay, then okay, so that answers my question. Thank you so much, Aki. $2, Bob.
You're
Praise
welcome,
you, Lord.
Deku. Praise Yahuwah. Praise Yahuwah. Yes, indeed. We become strangers to him until we are re-engrafted. You see, if we were not strangers to Yahuwah, we couldn't be, and we couldn't and wouldn't go through the things we've gone through. We go through what we go through because we became strangers. You see, the nation went through what it went through because it became estranged from Yahuwah. No longer under his umbrella, no longer under his covering, no longer under his protection. Go ahead, Aki. My Aki Matayahu. Great to see you, Aki.
Shalom, Aki.
Shalom.
Great to see you too.
Great to see and hear you.
Shalom, Miss Bakar. Yeah. What I want to say. I want to say also on Telcode of Yerim Yahu, you know, my heart goes out to you and your Bayat and the things that you're going through. It really, really hurts me. And I just, I pray that Yahuwah delivers you through all that and gives you and your family shalom. And, you know, at this point where we are right now, and I'm trying to, reflect on, the ancient days when we were our ancestors were in Mitzrayim. So kind of like, we, some of us are we like saying, what's next? What's to come next? What are we waiting? I know we're waiting on the return of Yahusha, Yahuwah, but what's the events that we're looking for if we're looking for any type of event to take place?
Right. So what's next in line? And I don't know if you remember, several months back, I did a series of study entitled "The Plagues Are Coming," and so concerning the deliverance of our deliverance. Even when you look at the book of Esdras, like I read from chapter 6. I don't think you were here yet when I read that, Aki. I read from chapter 6 as we began today in the book of 2nd Esdras, and I encourage everybody to go back and to read that. 2nd Esdras chapter 6. They say Esdras. 2nd Esdras chapter 6. But that, it really gives you a timeline of what to expect next. So the next thing that's going to happen is that the people who have been given power over us, those that have been ruling over us, who have flourished, they have flourished economically, they have flourished militarily, they have flourished in every way you can think of. They have flourished, and while they're flourishing, they have kept us oppressed. Yahuwah says now the next thing, what he's going to do, the next step is to now strip them of their power, to strip them of their all of their riches and esteem and power, and basically to flip the tables. And so the next thing you will see in the timeline is to see the oppressor becoming weaker and weaker, and then to the point that the oppressor maybe you can say becomes oppressed, or as Yahuwah puts it, ravaged. He said that he'll ravage them, so that's next, but that don't mean our deliverance comes exactly yet. Still, you see, they're going to be brought to their knees, and then comes our deliverance. You see, they're brought to their knees,
Right.
and then come our deliverance.
You know, also a key. You know, the what was it? You know how this is mentioned that the eagle and the bear are supposed to go to war against one another, do battle.
Yes.
And we know that the eagle represents the United States. You know, actually represents Great Britain and the other colonies, which United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and all like that. And the bear represent, the bear is Russia.
Yes.
And they supposed to do battle. I believe that's mentioned in
Esdras also, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
I believe it's in Esdras also that it's mentioned.
Right.
Indeed.
So, I see things like teeter-tottering between Trump and Putin, little ticky-tack thing, they seem like they trying to be buddy-buddy. But under the cuff, I know there's some tension going on. Because, Russia is just, seem like Russia be instigating some things.
Yeah, they do. As a matter of fact, you recall just the other day, and not too long ago, it was last year in over there in Syria, where Russia they were attacking U.S. forces, and the U.S. had to call in an air cover, and they killed over 200 Russian soldiers.
Right.
And so those things, they create tension. On the surface, they pretend as if everything is cool, because the reality is that Trump have a you see what's his name, Putin is a bigot himself. He's a racist also, and and Russia sees itself, and racist people, the Klan and other people like that, see Russia as the fatherland. You see, and so racist people have this affinity toward Russia. They have this. They feel like Russia is their deliverance, is their root. You see what I'm saying? So they have this desire to be one with Russia, to have this relationship, and that's what Trump, the whole thing is about. But Putin don't have any real friends. Putin is a savage. Like, he out for himself, you see. But Trump, he don't fully get that, and he trying to create something. But Putin is all about himself.
When they tell you who they are, you better believe them.
Indeed.
Because Putin is a show-enough gangster.
Yep.
Tyrant.
Indeed.
He showed that when he went over there and took in modern day.
Yep.
Strong arm and took what's the little country over there in
what's that name of that? Yeah, he just went over
Ukraine.
There. Yeah, he just went over there and just took it.
just straight took it.
Yeah.
And nobody did nothing, and nobody intended on doing that.
The guy bombed a passenger plane out of the sky in 2016.
Just blew it up. That's funny. But not that it's funny that the people died, but his antics, and they just sit back and they scared of this man.
Yeah.
They really are. Yeah.
Indeed. Yep. Yep. That's what they do, Bernice. That's what they do. And the reality is, if Obama had said that he was going to war to stop it, they would have had a serious problem with that. With Obama trying to go to war against Putin. So it's just the hypocrisy. It's the mystery of hypocrisy.
Yeah. Okay, Key. 2 down. I released the mic.
To the key, to that for your insight and for coming to the mic. Always interesting. All right. Well, Mashbaka, once again, it has been a delight and a baraka. I tell you, it. Yeah, I don't know how good it feel until I get here, especially in these days. I've been heavy. I got to be just honest with you. I've been heavy, but every time I come to this room, I get recharged, rejuvenated, and strengthened. I praise Yahuah. As iron sharpens iron, so does the presence of a man's friend. And so we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. I praise Yahuah for you, Mashbaka. May Yahuah continue to barak you and to strengthen you and to keep you. May he continue to keep us. And I'm going to ask again that Yahuah would send rain in the day of the latter rain. Allahu Yahuah. No. Oh, great question. I just saw that question from Akud Sherry. Was Kalab grafted in during ancient times? So during that time, Yasharal was the ceremonial Torah was still in effect, and that's how people were grafted in. So the scriptures tells you that anyone, whether it be the people of Yasharal or for the stranger among you, he said that he's given one Torah, both for the homeborn and for the stranger. And if the stranger lives by that Torah, right? And at that time, that Torah included the ceremonial contract, which means then that circumcision and the sacrifice of bulls and goats was a part of the ingrafting. And so as long as the stranger obeyed and did those and everything else, then they're grafted in. Alright. Praise Yahuah. Akut, nothing is impossible. 7:7 said, let us all remember that the joy of Yahuah is our strength. So hold on to that scripture. Alright. Well, Mashbaka, we're going to prepare to close out once again. It has been a baraka. Love you all and appreciate you. May Yahuah truly continue to barak you, keep you, and strengthen you. May he continue to feed us. May we be like trees planted by the rivers of water that brings forth its fruit in its seasons, whose leaves also does not wither. And may all that we do in his name, his great name, prosper. Praise Yahuah. Well, we're going to close out, family, and Yahuah willing, I'll be seeing you again soon. Halal hu Yahuah. Father, we thank and praise you for this time, for this fellowship, for your debar, your word. Continue to give us life, I pray. Continue to give us strength. Remind us of your goodness, your great works, your great acts, and your great promises. It becomes frustrating. It becomes drying. It becomes burdensome sometimes, Yahuah, as we live in the world that we live in, and we are faced with the challenges of life that we're faced with from day to day. But you are greater than all. And so, Yahuah, help us to remember to put our hope in you and nothing else. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will put our trust in Yahuah. Halal hu Yahuah. So we barak your great name, Abba. Be esteemed among us, be esteemed in us, and let your great name be praised. Halal hu Yahuah. Family, may Yahuah barak you and keep you. May Yahuah lift up his face upon you and show favor unto you. May Yahuah cause his face to shine upon you and give you shalom. May the great and the awesome name of Yahuah be upon you. Allow Yahuah. With that, Mashbaka, I'm going to say shalom. Yahuah willing, I will see you again soon. Shalom.